I'm just saying, like, to make jiu-jitsu more fun for yourself, don't think it as it like single moves. Like, ask yourself, if I like being here, I like doing these moves. What can I add to this that I can create a system like that allows me to chain, like move after move, and recover to where I can still maintain dominant position all the time. If you think of jiu-jitsu like that, like a chains of like a system, wherever you attack, you can create your own system, right? But if you do that, you'll enjoy jiu-jitsu.
Welcome to the Oldhammer podcast, where life meets the mats. My name is Sam. As always, I'm here with my good buddy Gordon. How you doing, Gordon?
I'm very good. Well beat up, but pretty good.
Beat up's better than, being lazy, I guess. I don't know where I was
Yeah,
going.
I guess so. I don't know. Grass is always greener on the other side. Right now, I feel pretty beat up.
My daughter loves The Little Mermaid as a complete aside, and Under the Sea literally starts with the seaweed's always greener in another lake. It took me 30 years to figure out that meant the grass is greener on the other side. There you go. There you go. Some common wisdom for you if you have kids. So, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? I think we're gonna catch up, but I guess we're gonna talk about styles in jiu-jitsu pertaining to yourself, like what you want versus what you are currently capable of doing. I mean, meaning like some guys want to be just top game guys, but unfortunately you go to a gym where everybody's a former wrestler, so you're gonna be on your ass all the time. Also, you might be like 6'4", super long arms, legs, and it's like, try guard out. It might be in your favor. Even if you don't initially like it, it might just suit your body better. And then you become so dangerous on the bottom that eventually you'll make it to the top. And honestly, it's easier to learn. It's harder to learn the bottom game than it is to do the top game. And so if you learn the hard stuff first, which is the opposite of what we've done, then the top game stuff is like almost seamless. It's like taking a vacation. Like it's too easy compared to the bottom game. But yeah, guess we'll start talking about that.
No, it's a good topic for today. I mean, you mentioned that we might call our little opening the blue belt beatdown, where we just talk about how
we get our ass kicked all fucking session,
all day. I've only done one session this week because usually by the time we're recording this, I've only done one session, so I do two more at the end of the week. And if I think about last week, I did roll with a black belt, and that went as pretty much as expected. Where he was friendly and nice, and I was still just fish out of water, you know. Yeah. You put in one hook and you're like, I've got something, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't understand how you now have a seatbelt around me and you've taken my back. What happened? Right? And so for me, sometimes it's weird because I have this recency effect, because some of the rolls I've talked about are like last week, like it's been 4 or 5 days since I've done that. And then I have the rolls I did today, which I basically rolled with nothing but white belts, and felt honestly kind of lazy about it, because I could, not a bottom game person particularly, trying to be better at it, but like I could put in butterfly hooks and sweep the white belt, or do a hip thrust from full guard and suddenly be mounted because they didn't know how to, they sat back too far or something like that. So it's this weird dichotomy for me where it's like I'm rolling with the black belt or the purple belt or the brown belt, and I'm like, I feel like a 2-stripe white. I just feel totally inadequate. And then I start rolling with some of the other white belts. Well, I say other, but I meant some of the white belts in the class. And I'm like, never mind. This is pretty easy. I got lots of stuff to do here on the top and the bottom. So I haven't figured where I'm going with this. I haven't really figured out my style. But when we're talking about our sort of updates, yeah, it's a weird dichotomy for me. Just trying to figure that out, figure out my place, right? What I want to try in class. Sure. So, because we're in a different environment than I'm used to, right? Obviously, as a bigger person, the default's usually a little more top game heavy, right? So,
yeah, I guess so. Like for me personally, like the first 3 to 4 weeks, I was pretty tense with my jiu-jitsu. But I think I mentioned the week we met up on the weekend and we were talking about that. And even the guys I was training with, they're like, man, like the first week you were pretty good, like you were relaxed, and then I put a lot of expectations to myself. And then 3 weeks go by, and I'm just like super tense. I'm super sore every day.
Mm.
Like I'm doing poorly during the rolls. And then so this week I decided just to relax. I trained 3 days this week, back to back to back. And, so I'm pretty beat. But they're all good rolls, even the ones that when I got tapped down. So just using less energy, having a much looser style game, and only needing to be tight and when I need to be. Which comes you think that would be common sense, but I guess when you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and I tend to do that, put a lot of these like these imposed like expectations for yourself, you create a lot of stress. The stress that you don't need because then you don't really learn. You're just there to like,
You get
oh, I
that
need to roll.
cortisol level
Yeah,
up, and then you get an adrenaline dump, and then you get some DOMs, and then all
yeah.
this cascades through, right? Yeah.
Especially now that I'm older, right? I don't recover as well. Like I used to.
We are also going through the problem of timing. Like for recovery, you don't have, because as we have families and we have other obligations, you don't have necessarily the same amount of time for that active recovery, for that mobility check, for that sauna we talked about in another episode and stuff like that. So that just piles on too. So
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like like I mentioned multiple times on the other episodes. Um, I work night shift,
yeah,
so like I'm chronically under recovered. So that's been a challenge in itself. But I just train a little lighter during those weeks, maybe only 2 sessions, and then I might go to the gym a little bit more. Right now, I'm not going to the gym like at all. That's ever since I started jiu-jitsu.
my
I started back up again. I haven't taken a weight. I've done some pull-ups. That's about it.
my recovery problem is different than yours. It's sleep apnea. So I have full undiagnosed sleep apnea. So I have a CPAP machine, and just some nights you just don't sleep as well. So you wake up a little more exhausted, a little more tired, even with the machine. Right? It's 100%
Yeah.
better than if you think if you. Here's my medical moment. I seem to have these in each episode. My medical recommendation: if you think you're waking up consistently tired and you don't know the reason, like you go to bed at the same time, you wake up at the same time, but you're just consistently exhausted, and you're drinking 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day, go get tested for sleep apnea. It's free in Canada. It's a free test. Ask your doctor. Don't even need a doctor. You can GP. Just go into a clinic. They'll give you a referral. Get tested. It's one night. They'll tell you if you have it or not. Anyways, your situation is obviously different because night shift. Well,
I don't have sleep apnea.
yeah, we're not going to go into the rigors of how night shift and switch shifts affect your
Yeah, I think
circadian
it's pretty
rhythm.
self-explanatory. Like most people complain about not getting enough sleep during a regular 9 to 5, so
Yeah.
just imagine like how shitty it is. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. So, tonight I'm working anyway, so
Yeah,
I'll
but
be
let's go back.
living that.
Let's go back to your mindset, because I've adopted this mindset a little bit more. Sort of, we were talking about in the weekend after I rolled with the black belt, and like my lizard hind brain basically put off all the warning flags, and I stiffened up, and things did not go well. But then I talked to you after, and you said, over the past couple of weeks, you had something similar. Your expectations were different.
Hmm.
But then you kind of went, well, loosen up, relax. It's
Yeah.
okay. You're okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
And things seem to be flowing a little bit more easily for you.
Yeah, training's been really good this week. Like I mentioned, I trained 3 days this week. Today's my third day in a row, and the row's been really good. Like instead of like instead of forcing like guard passes, like my tempo is better now too because I'm less tense. So like if things don't work, and I'll just switch it up really quickly, and I'll push the pace that way. So I'm able to push the pace. While I'm on top, I can push on the bottom. Still absolute trash. But like on top, I can push the pace. And once I pass, then it's like I find a lot of success once I pass. And before it was like, oh, am I going to pass? Now it's to the point where I'm going to pass. If you're not a purple belt and up, I'm going to pass. And then even if I don't pass, you're so exhausted from trying to keep me from passing. Like you're not doing submissions, you're not sweeping me. So
You're just
I've developed
stalling.
that style of pressure passing. I just
Yeah.
pressure pass the whole entire time. It's constant. And once I pass, I start attacking the neck straight away.
Yep.
Um, Cradles, if that doesn't work, I'm like arm triangle. Like I've only been able to do two submissions. So I'll like say like 10 rolls. I'll probably the 10 rows that I do well in, right? I'll say like 4 or 5 I'll sub, and the other half like I won't sub. It would just be like
Mm.
position fucking the guy to death. And so either arm triangle or a guillotine, and I've just been attacking relentlessly.
I
And
do like the
other times
guillotine.
it's just me basically putting them in like transitioning, and yeah, I'll miss the guillotine, go on top, sweep them over, and I'll just keep transitioning over and over and over again.
Mm.
So I've already found my style of game, and it was really reaffirmed to me. Like I was talking to my instructor, and he was like telling me this is exactly how you need to fight because it's so innate to you. And I told him like, dude, this is like I love the style. I was like hoping somebody would tell me like this is the way I should fight. He's like, dude, this is based on your build. I got wide back, so I'm able to, and I got a lot of squeezing power, and so I like that style already. I'm built for it, and now I need to find a style that really works for me on the bottom,
Mm.
and because I'm a pressure passer from the top on the bottom, my I usually have issues if the guy's standing over me. If they're in my half guard already, it's not that big of a deal. It's
Yeah.
when they stand over me where it's like completely open. Then that the fundamentally I'm just really weak there,
Mm.
and I just don't have the technical nuance to like figure out or be a threat at this point, or even just to neutralize threats. So that's a lot of my teammates have figured that out. So they just stand,
They just
and
stand up.
then yeah. So
Yeah.
when I've kind of depending who I go against, I've kind of negated that with I just wrestle up straight away. Like oh god, if they pass my guard, they tap me out, or like we roll again afterwards, and they just them dominate me from on top. When we roll again afterwards, like during the session, if they come close, I just wrestle up straight away, and then that's when I find success once I wrestle up. And
I
yeah, so even there, that's so far that's my style, but I can't just bank on wrestling up every single time. I'm not Nicky Rod. I don't have the technical or the wrestling nuance to just constantly wrestle
I
like that.
found for me one thing that's changed my mindset about the bottom game is I'm always looking for a hook, and that seems to have helped me because it's one of the ways that helped me defend. Right. So before, when I was on the bottom, it was just basically, well, try to figure out a way to stand up, basically.
Mm,
But
yeah.
now I found, and I'm not saying it works very well, but it's given me another arsenal, a tool in my arsenal, where it's find a hook. Either find an underhook in the arm, find a hook in the legs, find a butterfly hook, find a hook somewhere, because it makes the opponent deal with it. They can't just leave it alone, right? And then if you can get two hooks, right? So you get your double butterfly hook, then they either have to come close to you because they got to body lock you and bring you in, right? Which point you can try, like, as they come in, you can try to fight for the underhook, and then you've got a chance to sweep. Or if they just spin you, as long as you keep kind of keeping that hook in, right? You can follow them, right? Obviously, the last thing you want them to do at that point is grab your ankles, sit back, and do what you and I would do, which is basically fling your entire body into their stomach, just bam, eat it. So you got to watch out for that. But it's. I'm not saying it works all the time. I need to practice it, but it seems for me that it's one of those things that is starting to help a lot. Even if I'm in full guard, I'm like, well, let's just get one hook. Now I can open up my full guard, right? And I've got options. I can even go to half guard, which sounds weird, but it does work because then you automatically have another hook. And if you get them on the same side, well, now you can get into a dogfight. You can try and take the back. But that's what's helped me, and I started that process when we started our rolling, right? Because we would start in alternating positions with one of us on our butt or back, and one of us standing or on our knees. And I remember watching a video where it's like, this is how you do a half guard sweep. It was like a 15-second video, but he said, I think I showed it to you. Is well, you use your outside leg to drive in an underhook, right? And I remember it clicking. Hooks seem to help. If you can fight for the hook, at least your opponent has to either deal with it or they have to move so you can't set something up, right? So it just, and you don't have to keep them. If you lose one, you can put another one in. And that actually came from a different purple belt I was talking to, which kind of goes back to what your instructor was saying, where it's like, if you have half of something, you can just let it go. You don't have to strangle hold it until your arms or legs give out. Let it go and move on to something else.
A lot of that is the pace and like the reliance on the gi, like our tendencies, because the gi can be fast, but there's more leeway with your pace, so you can really like take your time. You can creep up. You can be like a wet blanket. Whereas in no-gi, like I was going to night class. There's like 40 of us there, and
That's a lot.
the room is like basically a fucking mist. It's like a fucking fog in there. I mean, it's so hot in there. Like everybody's just sweating balls, and it's like fucking slip and slide. Like when I remember trying posting my leg out, I kept slipping. Like I wear like short booty shorts.
That happened to me today. My hand just went
slipping everywhere, man. Like fucking slip and slide.
Yeah.
And so that's a great time to do sweeps. I find a puddle and just kick that leg up.
Once but like that's soaking wet.
Yeah, it's just hard. Like even
can't post.
Like I remember holding someone's head, and there's so much sweat on their hair. Just like they just pulled their head back and just slipped right out. I'm like, oh my god!
I was trying to do a guillotine today, a guillotine that I've now done multiple times to success. But the other guy was a little bit smaller than me, but he was still, in the 220, 225 pound range, about as wide as me. And my hands, because he was sweaty, and I sweat. My hands were just like I can't. They're just slipping off. And I'm like, God damn it! I can't hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but I want to like mention like for like older people who are starting out, like even if they already have been training for a little while, instead of like singular moves, start chaining things together. Especially if you like something. Like I'm in particular, like I already mentioned, like being in side mount, and I don't mind the opponent sitting on their side. That allows me to attack like arse chokes, and I can go to mount. I'll start doing arm triangles and stuff like that. And if they really sit up, connect their neck, I give them my cow catcher, and I'll just go straight for like a high elbow guillotine. And I've been having a lot of success with that. And then even if I don't get it, like turn them over, they go on the back. Then I sweep. If it's getting loose, I'll sweep them right back, and I'm back to my knees again. And I'll just crank it. I've been having so much success with that, and it's because like if you really like something, make sure it's there's a system to how you approach it. Like okay, I like being a side mount. I like attacking the pair, so I'm going for this move. It doesn't work. I need to transition, and you need to realize that like when it's failed. So like, okay, I have him the usual like you got the cross face, you're hugging them, you got the gable grip, you're crushing them. Now they're framing. You allow them to frame. Now they're really pushing you away. You can get rolled. You get swept. So with the kesikatame, pull the arm back. You gotta transition like a lot faster. You have to know when things are starting to break down, and it happens really quick. But if you enjoy that position, like then you need to really refine yourself. And once you kind of not master it, but become pretty advanced with it, then it allows you to work on other things, because now people are so scared of being there against you. It kind of like opened things up. Now like going to mount is super easy for me, because guys don't want me to. They're turning into me, or they give me their backs. Once that happens, now I get to work my back attacks. Like, and I usually gift wrap their arms, so their arms are like that, and I just love it. I just hold on to them, catch their leg, when I have the gift wrap on them. Once I've never had a poor roll. Once I can gift wrap someone, it's basically just me playing with them at that point.
I always
but obviously, like and then I chill too. I put a knee on their belly, or to the side of the ribs, and I'm talking to, being an old man, and I crank it, and I look at the timer. I'm like, okay, we're gonna stay here for 10 seconds while I catch my breath. They can hear the wheezing. I'm like, yes. And I've been quick with the smother choke too. I smother them, the mother's milk. Just like I mean, even if I don't get it when I'm in mount, well, I'm fine with that. I've just exhausted you.
Yeah.
And then I'll transition out. So like since I like being there so much, I've like tried to develop my game around that. But now it's about learning obviously other things I have to learn, like my bottom game, my weaknesses.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, to make jiu-jitsu more fun for yourself, don't think it as like single moves. Like ask yourself, if I like being here, I like doing these moves, what can I add to this that I can create a system like that allows me to chain like move after move and recover to where I can still maintaining dominant position all the time. If you think of jiu-jitsu like that, like a chains of like a system, whatever you attack, you can create your own system, right? But if you do that, you'll enjoy jiu-jitsu more rather than oh I gotta submit someone. Like enjoy pinning people, enjoy getting dominant position. Because
Yeah.
then the day, jiu-jitsu obviously is about submitting people, but you still need to master the positional stuff and transition
Control
stuff, the
positions.
transition like phases, and it's super enjoyable. Because one, you realize getting smashed all the time and fighting for shitty submissions or throwing up shitty submissions is not the way to go. Like you end up from bottom, you get smashed, and you're just like, fuck, I really wish I didn't come to jiu-jitsu today. It's gonna happen regardless. You're just trying to limit the amount of suck you have.
I mean, yeah, at the beginner levels, blue belt, all the way through, your purple belt. You can ask purple belts about this. It's like some people have said white belt is just figuring out how your body moves, basically.
Yeah,
In this, because you,
it's
you probably
survival.
don't know.
Pure
You
survival.
just whatever. Blue belt
Mhm.
is sort of mastering. It's not really mastering, but it's coming up with your defense, right? Learning how to get out of stuff. And if you throw up some submissions, but like you said, it's about developing more control, about developing your defense, so you don't have to get smashed all the time. Purple belt's more about finding your style. Brown belt is now you're competent, right? You know your defenses, you know your style, and you can start, pushing for those submissions. And black belt is the belt of attack, is what they say, right? I don't know if that's true. Obviously, I'm not a black belt yet, but it
Mhm.
kind of makes sense in that where I'm at right now in my journey is, yeah, learning how not to get submitted or get into poor controlled, get into that. If you think about it as a positive or negative grid, where one person has a positive advantage and you have a negative advantage, trying to minimize the times you have a negative advantage, right? Increase the times you have a positive advantage. And that's fun because that's a game and that's about the control positions, like you just said, right? Like it becomes a game. How do I mitigate my negative advantage and increase my positive advantage? And then how do I from different positions, and then if I roll in from some of my favorite submissions from there, how do I move from that? How do I go from a negative position to a positive position to a control position to a submission? How do I chain those together? And at what point does that tree branch off into different options? And it becomes more fun because it becomes kind of a game, right?
Yeah.
You gamify it a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And it's fun to create your own like system. Like it's nice to like know when you get to where you want to go.
but that's
Now
that's
it's
how
like,
you
okay, I can
develop your
work here
own
now.
style. And there's plenty of different styles that people have developed, and maybe one
Hmm.
of those fits you, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have to figure out sort of your own journey, right?
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of different styles out there, and you can watch, and almost no two practitioners have exactly the same style.
It depends on the gyms. So some gyms are like pretty like um not dogmatic, but like just the way everybody trains. It's like so like similar that I think some people are like if they have a different like a drastically different style, they're like kind of the outliers in the gym.
Mm.
Like there was like, some guys when we were training in our own gym before, they were like 90% of the guys were top game guys, and then the rest there was a couple guys with sick guards, and they were kind of like the outliers. And, like at black belt, everybody had a pretty good guard, but I think approaching like the purple belt level, brown belt level, most guys were like top game, solely top game, you know. And then that was just because that was the style at
At that
previous
gym.
gym.
Yeah.
The where I train now, this club is gives a shit. There's like guys doing rubber guard. There's guys doing like complete open guard. You never see them close the guards and stuff like that. Guys just like they're pressure pass. I'm a pressure passer. There's some guys that just really like they like to just um run around. They like do a tornado like passes all the time, which are like absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
And then yeah, for me, I'm a pressure passer, but then that lends itself to a lot of like and also the way I like to tap the head a lot. Like and I'm getting a lot of like terrible elbow tendonitis and shoulder like tendonitis as well.
Mm.
So that you got to remember that, especially if you're older, you're gonna have to prioritize some of that recovery more so than you think, because your body's gonna be beat to
Yeah.
shit.
We've
Especially
kind
if
of
you plan on training 5 days a week, kind of thing.
we've kind of talked about some recovery stuff before, but we could talk about it more.
Hmm.
For years, because I did strongman, I looked into a lot of recovery. Because if you want to talk about screwing up your body, Strongman will do it. It'll mess you up pretty good. Everything from dry needling to sauna to cold bath, all that stuff, depending on what you're doing, is good. But how does that? I want to go back to the different styles within jiu-jitsu, because we sort of talked about top game, bottom game, but even within those two realms, there's differences, right? And finding your style can be difficult at the beginning. Yeah. And if you're older, the way you discover your style is probably going to be different than when you're younger. Like, we obviously sort of, both you and I do like pressure passing. We like the top game. I love it when somebody turtles. That's actually my favorite thing, because I love front headlocks, and I love body locks, and I love taking the back. Those are like three of my favorite things. So even if I get you on side mount, if I can roll you so I can take your back, I'm a happy camper.
I don't really like it when people turtle off. I like them to turtle into me and from side mount. So I don't want. Actually, I'm very poor at taking the back. In that sense, I rather do like a power riding. So like I ride you up to like a mount and stuff. I'd rather do that. I'd rather just saw stuff up at you.
If I get your mount and I try to do a high mount and you roll and you give me your back, I'm like, yay. You're not getting out of this now. Your back is mine.
I'm like, as dumb as it sounds, like at this point I'm giving up the back. I get flat down and then I'll get off the back and I'll just cradle the fuck out of them.
Cradle them to death.
I'm ruthless. If I can get a cradle on someone, I don't give a shit. like, oh, you motherfucker. Especially if they're higher belt, they're just been beating the shit out of me. And once I get in the cradle, I'm relentless with
it. Put the leg over.
Oh, fuck dude, you, man. I haven't done a neck break. I haven't done a butcher shot to anybody yet. There was a couple of times
I
gotta admit, you fucking tap me up 3 times with my heel hook, and then I put the knee in and I let go, and they turn in. Then I go to my transitions to like a guillotine or like a Darce choke straight away, man.
That's kind of a different outset, but there are certain moves where they're absolutely legitimate. But if you want people at your gym to hate you, the butcher shop is kind of one of them.
Neck crank, man.
It's a neck crank with your knee in the cradle position, and it's fucking mean. It's like that calf slicers, bicep
even
slicers,
you can't do can openers. Like, you did that to me. Speaking of can oper, the first day we rolled back, you fucking slammed the can opener on me. I'm like, holy fuck.
But I love you, so it was a friendly
can opener. No, it was not friendly, bro. I was like, holy shit, this shit is tight, man. But yeah, like, no neck stuff. I always let go. Because in my mind,
I wouldn't do that at class, but I know you, and I'm like, I got no time for your clothes guard. Open up.
Yeah. For me, just a sidebar, but like etiquette. When I was younger, I would have like, I was so much meaner when I was younger, and my pride and ego was like an all-time high. So I wouldn't crank on submissions, but I'm if I can get you in a neck crank, I'm cranking that thing. I'm gonna put you in it. Now I just place the knee there. I just take it off. It's just kind of like letting myself know, like, if I want to reef this, it's there. That kind of stuff. I'm much more gentler. I'll even let go of submissions.
I was just gonna say today.
It's all day.
Today
so we can work.
I let go of about 3 submissions, because I didn't want to let one. I'm not trying to brag, because I get my ass kicked by tons of people, but in this particular case, I let him go. One, because I didn't have them perfect, right? So yeah, I could have used all my strength and muscled it. And I'm like, So one, I didn't have him perfect, so I let him go. 2, I realized, if I just cranked it, I could probably get him to tap, but what's the point at that? That's just my ego saying, finish him. Like, this isn't Mortal Kombat, so I was 80% there, and now I realized I should have adjusted on the setup to get it 100%, where he would have just tapped instantly. So let it go. I let it go. And eventually we ended up in a north-south choke that I did do right. But, like, that's one thing I think, especially as older people, there might be some maturity there, but as you're an older person coming in, you'll realize that, and I was talking about the black belt, like, this last Friday, he's older, I think he's almost 60. So he's been a black belt for quite some time. But he was like, "You're strong." I'm like, "Thank you." Were you a powerlifter? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm powerlifting strong, man." Whatever. And he says, "I can feel you're strong, but you're I can feel you like holding back. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to. I can use my strength. Eventually, my strength will fail me because muscle endurance is what it is. So I'd rather try and learn the technique and have the strength there. And I think that goes back to the debate where people are like, well, do you shouldn't use strength. And I think that comes across kind of wrong in jiu-jitsu. It's not that you shouldn't use strength. You have to use strength. Your strength is there,
Yes.
right? But what they're trying to tell you is focus on the technique,
Yeah.
right? Because like if you're super agile and super quick, nobody's going to say go slower, right? Well, maybe if you're just flailing around, they'll say go slower. But like nobody cuts in and is like, well, don't move quickly. But
Yeah.
there's this
Yeah.
whole thing about strength, right? Like don't use your strength. And I think what they're saying is what I was discussing with the black belt was like, it's not don't use your strength. If you're strong, focus on the technique first. And that kind of goes with like other things, like if you're weightlifting, you're gonna hurt yourself eventually if you don't have good technique, no matter how strong you are. So focus on your technique first, and your strength or your agility or your speed will help you with that. And I think that's what, and I think you eventually your style will play into that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I agree with that. And also to use your strength appropriately. Like if you're just muscling through everything,
mm,
you're gonna be tired as fuck, first of all. And even if you don't really get tired, it's you're not really gonna learn as fast as you think you will. You'll probably do well against people around your level, but
sure.
you're not gonna be able to transition because like usually when you're just going full bore, using all your strength, you're trying to win rather than kind of experiment. Or like you can like for example, like if someone's got a knee shield on me, I can catch the arm and like get them in the and I weave my hand through like a and then I'll put pressure on their knee shield. I'll just blast my like that's when I'll use the strength. I'm curled up with the ball, and then that's different. Like 'cause I'm timing my strength. I'm not just fucking like just giving it my
Yeah.
all like the whole way through. Like I kind of like use it when it's needed, where the move needs to be explosive in order to work, kind of thing. It needs momentum. Some things don't need to be like using full strength. You'll find out real soon it's absolutely fucking exhausting to just muscle your way through things.
Yeah.
And you start to like gas, and when you're gassing, you're not really thinking anymore. You're just like surviving. Even if you're the one dominating, you're like huffing and puffing.
Yeah. I mean that goes into the top game style. Like when you're on top, you don't need to use strength because you have weight, right?
Yeah.
So you can relax your strength a little bit and focus on your technique. And when you're on bottom, maybe if you're just using pure strength to power out of something, well, if the match is 6 to 10 minutes long, you're gonna get real tired if you end up on your back a lot, real quick. Then all of a sudden you're gonna be in the cradle, or you're gonna be mounted, or the guy's gonna take your back, and you're gonna have nothing left. So start looking for those little wins that you can try and do, which is what I'm trying to think of when I'm trying to progress my game. Where can I make the little wins? Where can I win
Yeah.
the little fight? Like, is it for head position? Is it for a hook? Is it for knee position? What little thing can I win to improve my position?
Yeah. I think too, like when you fight against like a higher belt too, or a guy who's like slightly better than you, or a little better, like people like you might like, okay, I gotta go full blast and stuff. The chances are you're probably not gonna tap that person out. So if it's there, you obviously latch onto it. But if you have this get your priorities. Like priorities become even more important
Right.
like, when you go against somebody much better than you. So for me, if I'm on top, if he doesn't tap me up or sweep me at all, and I'm constantly pressuring with my passing, and that's all he's doing is like trying to stop me from passing, I consider that a win. You gotta take what you can get, right? And like, and if he's exhausted, if he's more tired than me at the end, then I consider that I wouldn't say a win because it's not really a win. For me, it was like that was a good role for me.
Mm.
'Cause he's better than me. Clearly, we both acknowledge that. But I was able to stop all of his attacks. Like he couldn't really sweep me. He couldn't do anything. I didn't allow him to leave. I was in his half guard. I almost passed a couple times. All that kind of like if you need to find those positive reinforcements and work on those things more, those transitions. Like I'd rather be the king of transitions and position than submission initially, right? Just the like even then, because like if you're not positionally correct, your submissions are going to be pretty shit ass,
Yeah.
like against anybody who knows what they're doing. It's
Well,
just not there. And
that's
every good submission, like you can, if you, the true testament to a great submission is like if you got them and they are fucked, they can't get out,
there's nothing
and
they
you
can
can
do.
gently apply that submission. That it's like Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan's by far the best in the world. You never see him
Hands down.
crank anything. When he catches you, he's gently putting on that submission because he knows he's got you. There's no reason for him to. If he could, if he didn't like the guy, even if he doesn't like someone, I think unless he's going against like Greg Jones or like the top three guys or Nicky Rod, he's not going to crank it. Like everybody outside of those two guys, he's not going to crank a submission because those two are like they're pretty damn good too. So like you can't, especially Nicky Rod. He's just not going to give it to you. He'll let his leg break. So that kind of thing, it's a little bit different.
This is why I like the concept of, well, you call it position fucking, I call it control position. These control positions, like the different. If you go and look at Gordon Ryan, I was watching one of his videos where he heel hooked a guy. Pick one of Gordon Ryan's videos. He heel hooks a lot of people, but you could tell in the role that at one point it was done. It was already over. Even the guy who was caught in this was like, you could tell he's screwed. He's just waiting for Gordon to sink it in, right? And he didn't even have the heel yet. But the thing is, I think when I was younger and we'd watch UFC or we'd watch some Jiu-Jitsu matches or we'd watch the higher level belts roll, there was this thought that, and tell me if you think this was the same for you, but there was this thought where they would just move right into a submission. But somehow I missed the 4 positions they went through quickly because they were so practiced at it. So it was so ingrained that this control position to that position to this control position to the submission. And when I was watching Gordon Ryan recently, that's what I saw. Is I saw him move through 3 different positions, control positions, to get to that submission. He just did it so much more quickly because he's so good, obviously talented, but also so practiced at it that to a layperson it was like, oh, he just tumbled into a heel hook. Not really.
Yeah.
Not at all. And if you listen to John Donovan,
Yeah, prior to that,
absolutely not, right?
He had everything under control.
Yeah.
And it was
Exactly
isolating the leg, and then it was just over from then.
Right? So
I know, I agree with you.
yeah, so it's just it's changed my perspective. I think that's probably started to change just before we took our sabbatical for those many years. But I think recently it's just come much clearer.
Yeah, I think that wasn't really hammered into us when we started Jiu-Jitsu, and I think it was just like process that you had to figure out on your own. And even like you talk to other when you're a white belt, you ask the blue belts, and they didn't really explain to you. They're just like, yeah, just keep coming Jiu-Jitsu, you'll figure it out. I'm like, okay, I don't
Just
really
keep
understand.
rolling.
Like when I became a blue belt, I was still fucking clueless. And you're only a blue belt too, so like obviously you're not gonna know that much. But still, like I think white belts now in today's world, like if your coach isn't kind of like your instructor, what I want to call them, is like not emphasizing like position and like control over than just random moves of jiu-jitsu moves, then you want to be really competitive, you might want to go to a different gym.
Jim.
And it like for where I'm training at, there's no random moves of the day. It's
No.
the 3 things chained together. Like we usually get 3, maybe 4 moves. Not 4 is for each. Unless someone asks the question. So usually 2 or 3, and they all chain together. And then if you come consistently, that's the whole thing. Is you still need to come consistently.
Yep.
So coming in 3 to 5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and then next week, the thing that you learn that didn't really make any sense the first week, like it adds on to next week. It's like the sequence. Okay, I failed this. He does this. I do this, and then it's like a curriculum that's like steady for like 2, 3, 4 months, and then so some people you might not take to it straight away, but 6 months down the line you do it. You're like, holy shit, I get it now. Like for me today, I'm just really like I was really lucky. It was like if it was all like transitioning from a failed the guy's turtle. You try to take his back. You can. So we go back to the front headlock position. There's space between their hips and the elbow and the hips. You shoot him for the underhook, the cow catcher, and then you try to tip him over. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
They transition to like a guillotine, all that stuff. That really makes sense to me. Primarily because it's what I love. So what you love, you're going to pay attention to, right?
Sure.
Like every time I see a heel hook, obviously I suck at any leg attacks. Every time I see like a leg entanglement, I'm just like, wow, I'm already complaining in my head.
Reverse X, and it's
Yeah.
like
I'm
then
just
you
like,
just
I
move
don't
your leg
want to be
here, and
on
then you
my
do
head.
this, and you pull that up, and you grab the other
Yeah.
leg, and I'm like, I need to take
Like, I'm always
calculus
stop paying
again.
attention, which is bad, right?
Hmm?
Yeah. So like I always stop paying attention, which is obviously bad. Like you only love the subjects that you are interested in.
Yeah.
And in jiu-jitsu, there's a detriment. Like you get found out really quick. But what I'm trying to say that like there's a sequence, and then the week prior to that, I was really confused. I'm like, why are we fucking doing back takes again? It's like back takes,
It
and
hammers
then
it in.
but then the week after was back take, fail back take, and we're going to transition back to the head. I'm like, oh, I fucking get it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm so bad at taking the back. Eventually, I'll get better. But currently, if I miss taking the back, which I will, I can go straight back to front hand and transition. And it's like, oh, it's another thing that's added into my repertoire. I'm like, the things I love the most. So now it just reinforced it. And today I hit the move I tapped two people that way today. I was like, holy shit, like, yes, it's working.
It makes sense.
And then, my coach was like, this is how you gotta fight. You clearly love attacking the head. You gotta be a bully. Like, you love pressure and you love being a bully. You need to fight that way. Add this to your style. This is how you have to fight.
You and me both.
Yeah. And it just was, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you need to find a place that applies that. Like, sometimes you go to many classes, like, what the fuck? I have no idea what's going on. But it will. Something will click because it all changed together.
I had one
That's
guy
what's
I rolled with last week, and he just at the end of the roll, he was like, "Man, I spent a lot of time in turtle." I'm like, "I know." He's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, that's where I want you. So you kept letting me put you back in turtle from wherever you got out from, and that's when I sank a guillotine, and that's when I did an anaconda. Like, because you let me do that, I will give up the side mount to let you go to turtle so I can take your back, or I can do a DARS or something like that, because that's where I like you. This is one of my favorite spots for me to be in, because one, I feel in control. Two, I know some submissions from there. Three, I know how to move around, right? So it's hard for you to get out. And if you do get out, I still stay on top, right? I'll go back to side mount, or at worst half guard. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, he was just like, oh, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna want to figure out a way to get out of turtle for me. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be happy that you're there. Yeah.
And I think like the sooner you find out, even as like a beginner white belt, like one stripe, two stripe, I think that's fine. Like I think the sooner you can figure that out, faster you will sell. And I wish, hindsight's 2020. I wish that like that's how we had been taught to approach the game, rather than kind of like, okay, do the moves, and these techniques are great. I don't understand what the fuck's going on, and even if I do, they're just singular moves. Even if they all transition within each other. It's like they combo with each other like that day. The next day, we're doing something else. Very likely we're going to do something else, and it's like, okay, I can just forget about all the other shit there.
Yeah,
and
now
so
something completely different.
Yeah, and I think today, like, there's two
training.
things. Yeah, there's two things. One, you have to find a place that allows you to train with that type of mindset, that has that mindset instilled into you. It's like a curriculum.
Yeah.
And number two, because there's so much information now, you really have to put the onus on yourself to get better. That prodigy, Joseph Chen, I don't know if you know him, dude. The kid's, I think he's like 21. He's a beast. He's half Asian or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, he's a beast. He's so fucking good. He's so fucking good. It's disgusting. And the thing about him is, like, he was mentioning on the podcast he was on, and I think it's a B Team podcast, and he was mentioning that you have to you can't just go to jiu-jitsu anymore and get better. You have to look at the tutorials, buy tutorials, or in his case, like, rip them off and get them for free and not pay for it. There's a whole like joke about that. And then he learned he had to he also like I know, like, people who know him might be like, oh well, he's young, he's got no responsibility, maybe his parents pay for his jiu-jitsu and all that. Okay, maybe, but how many 17-year-old, no, I think he's now 21, how many 21-year-olds are going to take that opportunity? You ask, like, a guy right now, a 17-year-old,
are you
like,
spend the next
drop everything, do jiu-jitsu, and this is gonna be life, and you're gonna do jiu-jitsu 7 days a fucking week. That's all you're gonna do. You'll have no girlfriend. Your friends are like the guys you roll with,
Yeah.
and that's all you're
Your
gonna do.
entire
Not
world is
many,
this.
yeah,
Well, that's
not many
the one
people will do
percent.
that.
That's the Michael Jordans. That's the Tiger Woods. Your world is this, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
even looking back, would I have done that? No, I
no.
wouldn't have met my wife. This and that. I'm seeing. I don't. I like to think I'm more dedicated now than I
So
was before I was younger.
we'll talk about balance
Yeah,
and imbalance in the future and the benefits and drawbacks of that. But that's
yeah,
exactly what that is. Like that's just another
yeah,
decision that you have to make for yourself. Um,
yeah.
but I can talk about that for another hour. I got a bunch of research on it. We can get into that another day. But
Yeah.
we're kind of running up on time. But I did have one off the wall question I kind of wanted to ask you before we wrap up. It's about style.
Sorry, you got cut off there. I missed that word.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I had one off the wall question before we wrap up for you that I wanted to ask
Okay,
about styles
sure.
before we wrap up. And it's this: what style, other than the one that you currently use, if you could adopt it, would you? Which style would you like to be able to do that you currently don't use? I know I will never do this because I am not this flexible. I would love to be able to do rubber guard. I just think it's fascinating. It opens up a whole other world, but that's really not in the cards for either my body style or the way my mind really works. Um, so it is a bit of a mystery to me. So that's the one I would choose. This is kind of like choose your superpower, right? Like which one,
What style that I don't currently use that I would
if you
like
could, and
if I
like
could.
if it could, which one would you just be
Well,
like,
obviously it would
I
be
want that
like
one?
some guard dominant. Like I actually don't like rubber guard. I find it like a complete opposite of you. I find it absolutely atrocious. I know this. I know the validity of it.
Yeah,
It's obviously effective because it's like so many people use it.
I just
But
find it
to
fascinating though.
even if I was flexible enough and had
I
the
know I'll just
mobility, I
never
will
be
tell
able
you
to
this
use
right
it,
now.
right?
I will not use rubber guard. I would use absolutely zero chance that I would use
I
it.
just don't understand how it works. Even if somebody explains it to me, it's like somebody explaining cricket. I'm like, I
Hmm.
still don't understand this game. I don't get it.
Hmm.
So that's why I would love to be able, if a genie could gift me with something, just jujitsu specific, I'd be like, gift me with that because I don't get it.
Hmm.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I know it works. I see people do it, and I'm just like, I don't understand.
What style?
Yeah.
The top game I'll keep the same because obviously I'm not going to change my
That
style.
works.
It will be always pressure passing. Not always, but like um,
Pressure passing with
predominantly.
options. Let's put it that way.
I do all types of pressure pass. I do the body lock. I love the body lock. I try to look at how Nicky Rod does his version of the body lock. I like the over under pass. Anything that's like any type of pressure passing, I love. Like I'm all about pressure passing. I'm not biased to any particular style of pressure passing.
That's fair.
But like so that I guess it would be my answer would be some sort of guard dominant style. And if I could do it, I guess I'll be um, like a Marcelo Garcia's butterfly guard, like
Awesome.
his X guard, like just be a master of that. Just because like my guard's so shit, it'd just be nice to have an open guard that was just so dangerous that I can constantly take your back like Marcelo Garcia. And then I take your back, and if I don't even choke you, I can just, as long as I'm like, whatever guard that allows me to get back on top. And I feel that, like, if I can have like a Marcelo Garcia style guard, this butterfly guard, and I can just take your back every time I am up on top, perfect. Like, fuck it. That's perfect. Whatever gets me back on top. Like, I'm not even going for subs, man.
There you go. There you
That's it,
go.
man. Like,
No,
that's how biased I am with top game. I'm like, I want my body game to be so good so I can just get back to the top.
for me, not the theoretical one we just did. I'm the same. Any starter guard that either lets me sweep you to get on top, take your back. Give me one of those
Yeah.
two things. Or
Mhm.
if I become more accomplished later, if I can figure out how to get that leg over top and I can end up in a seated position 50-50, 80-20, whatever, fine. But at least I'm not on the bottom.
Yeah, I like lots of course. I would like to be as comfortable with leg locks as I am with like any head, like neck and head attack. If I can get to that level, I can ignore the rest. Dean Lister said, like, why would you ignore 50% of the body? Listen, I don't give a shit. Neck up is what I'm attacking, and then ankle down. That's
So
it. I will ignore the
preference.
rest of the body. Like
Your
that's it.
preference.
I either decapitate you or break your ankles. That is truly what I want.
Or
I don't
hollow
even go
you.
for arm bars. Like once I get arm bar on someone, I'm trying to sweep them to get back on top. How fucking biased I am. I'm like, fuck this, man. I don't want to be on my back. Period, man. Unless it's like unless I got your leg, I can like just crank it. That's the only time. And even then, I'd rather do belly down, down, straight ankle lock kind of thing, where I could just use a lot of my power.
There you go.
Right? Obviously, I'm not going put myself in a box and not try everything else. I'd rather be good at relatively good at everything. But the way I will prefer to fight is like that: head up and then ankle down, and know everything else in between.
Have your preference. Know everything. Be good at a few things, and be
Yeah,
excellent at a couple things.
yeah,
That's actually, I think, pretty good advice for life. Be a jack of all trades, but a master of a couple.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just yeah, but be like so biased, absolutely biased. Like you'll just give up on the victory if you don't get the
yeah.
way you want. That's how I am.
Uh, Unlike our current political world, in jiu-jitsu, be biased.
Yeah, be ultra biased
If you
in what
work in
you want.
HR, don't be biased. But in jiu-jitsu, be biased. Be biased to
Yeah.
your preference of how you're going to crush your opponent.
Yeah. But in between there is the transitions. Just be really good at like, you know what? I'm gonna say this for real. If I couldn't submit anyone, like I just couldn't do any submission. But if I could just pass guard and hold and just position, fuck you around, just go all the way, take your back, get you back onto your side mount you, and just make like basically if there was a tech fall in Jiu-Jitsu, we can rack up like 25 points. You have zero, and
Yeah.
you're just obliterate from this me and belling you. Fuck, I'll take that, man. I feel like people say, "Oh, that's not jiu-jitsu." Well, it is jiu-jitsu. It's just jiu-jitsu without the end. If you're exhausted, then I'm not. So
Yeah.
if I can do that, that to me is actually like um almost my dream way of winning. If I could
So
just rack up 25 to 0, 20 to 0, to the point where they're just like, just give up. Just
we
ref, just stop the fight.
we we often forget because we look at the high level guys, which submissions come into play more, especially if there's a no time limit, whatever. But if you are competing, jiu-jitsu is a point scored competition, and if you can position yourself for the takedown, to pass the guard, to take the back, you're gonna have more points than your opponent fairly quickly. And even if you rack up 5 points, 5 points would actually be a lot. But if you rack up 5 points in a no-gi tournament at most levels, you're probably going to win that match. So
Well, I would say this: the game has changed drastically, especially the more popular, like because everybody and their mom has like a jiu-jitsu competition set up. So there's a lot of like submission only comps, which I would do absolutely poorly in. If I can't snatch your head, it's like I'm fucked. And
well,
and
there's
then
time.
yeah, basically I'm fucked. And then you can like technically there's no points. It's just submission. So like you get 0 points for dominating someone for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever how long it is. Even in ADCC, like even if you were so good and you can make the trial, like you win the trials, because I think even at black belt it's like 9 or 10 minutes, and then you go to ADCC, the rounds are 20 minutes, right? In the first 10 minutes, you get 0 points. There's no point score, so you can literally rack up like 30 points, and it's the first 10 minutes, you get nothing. Then another thing is, I love the position fucking everyone. Problem is that it's a war of attrition
Yeah, you don't
in
want them to
jiu-jitsu.
get
You're not
tired
fighting
before
one
you.
person. You're not so good that you can fucking just only do super fights. I'm not Gordon Ryan. Different Gordon. No guard Gordon. That's me.
No guard.
Like you go to like your local tournament and maybe there's 100 people in your bracket. Like it's a very popular comp. Whatever it is, it could be like the trials, ADCC trials. You're good enough to go there. Even if you're like a black belt, but your submission game is still relatively weak, but you're really very good at positioning, you're going to suffer. Because you end up fighting like 7 people or 8 people. Do you know how tiring it is to go the full 9 or 10 minutes?
10 minutes, yeah.
Then you got another guy. You're not fighting scrubs. You fight another guy 10 minutes, and then another guy. Like you could actually be better than all of them. You can technically beat them 1-on-1 if you're fresh. But the problem is now they're just tapping everybody out. You like your end product is going to bite. Your lack of end product is going to bite you in the ass.
Well,
And
I'll say this.
yeah.
Hopefully by the time we're black belts, our submission game will be on point. Yeah.
Head
So
on head.
just heads,
Yeah.
just decapitations all the time. Um, on that note, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. As always, we appreciate you all listening. Stay tuned for more. and we'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate you.
More blue belt beatdowns. This is our blue belt
Blue belt
beatdown segment.
All right.
All right,
Thank
man.
you, everyone. Thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, see you, man.
Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Bye.